And we're going now. First pod in a while, dude. All right. Yeah, we haven't done a show in a minute, but it's so funny because I actually loved watching your workouts before we met when you came in and did the show with Mike Catherwood. And it's funny because I went from like trying to just lift heavy all the time to focusing more on form. And so it was funny that we met and then now you're here. So today we got the infamous Judd Lienhard. I say your last name right?
Yeah, man.
Perfect. Yeah.
Perfect, yeah.
Speed and performance coach, founder of the MASS method. What exactly is the MASS method?
So MASS is an acronym, stands for movement, athleticism, strength, and speed. So it's kind of just a blend of different, athletic pursuits, and kind of making that accessible to quote unquote everyday people. It doesn't mean it's like dialed down. It's, some of them are simple movements, but they can be scaled to whatever level you're at. Just because, my theory is like always be an athlete. So.
Yeah. And you were an athlete.
Yeah. Football.
And where'd you go again?
Truman State, so Division II in northern Missouri. Used to be Northeast Missouri State.
Are you from Missouri?
Yeah, born and raised, man.
There you go. Yeah, well, that's one thing I have to relate to you is I went the JUCO route. In fact, I just saw one of my old teammates for the first time in like 10 years this past weekend, and we picked up immediately where we left off. And it was so great to just be around that and that camaraderie that comes with it. But, man, we were laughing about how out of shape we are compared to our athletic days. And I was telling him that I was going to have you on the show, and I go, well, dude, there's a new approach now that like you can still be an athlete. Like you just don't have to like think, I think there's a lot of ego training in college and high school. And, did you have a lot of that coming up too?
Oh, absolutely,
just
man.
Chasing numbers.
Looking like in how the way I used to train was. So I feel for these young guys, man, because I was no different. And, it's just like you might not be able to do like the power cleans like you used to, but some people can. But, you can still do a power type movement. You can just, scale and adjust things.
Yeah, the cleans used to destroy my wrists.
Yeah.
I always felt like I was doing them wrong. And
I was good at them too, so I like doing them. But like it just, I knew they weren't good for me because I didn't have the mobility.
Dude, well, it's like as I got older and I learned more about training, I realized how brutal and unsafe a lot of high school and training was, and how it was just more focused on numbers than it was on actual like strength training or athletic training. That's why there's so many injuries.
Yeah.
And I remember it didn't make sense when I was in college. They would have I played defense and they would have us go in and we would do the most we would destroy our legs, and it would just be this brutal leg workout. And then we would go outside and we would switch with the offense, and they'd put us through this insane training. And it's like my legs just were.
They still do that.
Yeah. And it just. Yeah. I just was like, does this make sense? Like, is this okay? Or, we would swap it. And so it's like, how am I supposed to come in and max out on squats after I just ran and did all these agility training for like an hour or so?
I just love hate, man, because I love to lift weights, bodybuilding, all that stuff. But, they also act like if you can't squat, then you can't play football. It's like, how is squatting a prerequisite for playing football?
That's perfect. I mean, great point. Yeah, it was. I always felt like if I wasn't hitting certain numbers, it's like because they put you on platforms. So if a lot of people don't know, at least for me, I don't know if you'll be able to relate to this. When we would do a max day, and then it was like bench, squat, deadlift, and power cleans. And then based off the numbers you got on each one, they would assign you to a platform. Yep. So you wouldn't even train with people in your position group. It was always based off that. And then they would give you like a numerical chart, like percentages, and you'd have to hit certain numbers. And I'd just be like, dude, I can't.
Well, I mean, there's undulating periodization where they kind of learn like linear isn't the best for everybody. You need to, at the last set, then you get you max out on that last set, and that kind of tells you where you go the next week.
Yeah.
And there's so many avenues that they can learn, and they're just not. I don't want to hate on strength coaches because some are fantastic and ahead of the curve. Some, leave something to be desired. So.
I wonder if there should be like a change where you have, a strength coach and then maybe a performance coach. I know sometimes there's both. Like they are great in both. But I just remember feeling like the platform method wasn't really beneficial to me because there would be guys that like I could out squat on any day, but they had a much better bench. And so we'd be doing bench days and I'm trying to meet their percentages on the platform that I'm on. I'm like, I can't do it. And then now I'm like discouraged and I'm not growing. And so, I
mean, they're doing, I recently went to Sornex and got the chance to be around some like high level Division I strength coaches, and hearing what they say, makes a lot of sense. And these dudes have gotten a lot better, especially at higher levels, and they see that. But we forget that like these are football players first.
Yeah.
They're not weight room guys first.
Yep.
And, the strength coach should be under the performance coach, or it should be the one and the same. And strength is just a tool for performance. They forget that strength is just a tool for performance.
Yeah. I mean, have you been going or visiting any colleges or doing anything like that?
No, man. I talked about it. And I talked, with Bo Sandoval and some of those guys, Josh Storms from Florida State, Chip Morton, South Carolina, and then arranging trips out there. I'm super stoked, man.
Yeah.
Me and Bert Soren kind of go back and forth now, and he's like a fantastic dude, man. And his dad, he just lost his dad.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, that's really hard. They were close. But the chance to go out and like kind of see his facility again and work with him, like I'm super excited about that. I geek out over that stuff.
Oh, I do too. Yeah. Whenever I start talking about football, like strength training, things like that, those are probably the top things I can relate to, because like that's where I got all this started in was athletics. And I've noticed now the college football, all the guys are getting smaller, but their like athletic performance is skyrocketing.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, force is mass times acceleration, right? And it's like we try to get bigger, but we forget about the acceleration piece. So we try to make these football players really big, and that's not always the best route.
Yeah. So. Comes down to skill.
Yeah, I mean, I like people like on Instagram, like it's more for a general audience, but like my profession forever has been speed training. That's like my laser focus is, and everything that goes into that, like mobility and strength and power. But like I love speed training, man. It's like my gig.
So on that, what kind of inspired you to take that path to go into being a speed and performance coach?
So I wasn't really into speed. Like I was a fast guy, and I loved track in high school.
40?
It wasn't like something I was passionate about. And until I got out of the military, I'm exploring career options, and I had several, like an opportunity in Minnesota, and then like a fitness director in South Carolina. And this guy that ran acceleration out here hit me up. It was just him and his business partner at the time. It's like a brand new thing. And I went out there, man. I just fell in love with like kind of his vision for what he wanted. And like at first, it was all about training kids, and I wasn't happy about that, but
kids drive me nuts.
But oh my God, it's been like the most fulfilling thing. And
really?
Just to see these kids like, and we have had a lot of high level athletes come through, like NFL players and college players, Division I guys, but a lot of them are kids that we developed into that. And it's just to see a kid come from kind of an awkward preteen and just see him develop into a Division I athlete is just the most rewarding thing. And then not just the high level kids, but dads would come to me as like, hey, my son is just tired of being the slowest one in his class. Yeah. And then just to see how happy that kid is when he walks in one day and he didn't lose a race for the first time in his life. It's just a horrible feeling to be last every single time.
Oh, yeah.
And then just like take a kid from being last to middle of the pack, and it changes that kid's life and gives them confidence. And it's hard to explain to people when they brag to me about all the Division I and first round draft picks they've trained. And I've trained a couple. They do very little for me. Those are all good guys, but they're easy to coach. You don't build as a coach. You basically tell them to do something, and then they can pick it up right away. You can have them do very simple things, and they get a lot better. But to develop a kid that's not highly coordinated, you form a bond with that kid and it's an attachment because you feel like you're a team with him, and it changes their entire life. Like whether a first round draft pick works with me or not, I might make him a couple extra $1 million, but at the end of the day, like what is that to him?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just been the most fulfilling thing in my life career wise. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Man, where were you when I was a kid?
I know, right? Like,
dude, a crazy fact is I played college ball, but I rode the bench in high school. I had zero stats in high school. I didn't play in the first quarter of a football game until I got to college.
Even at like Lake Travis Westlake, there's some talented kids that don't start.
Yeah, and I mean, it was the most discouraging thing. Everything you just said, it was reminding me of when I was a kid. Where I remember my senior year, 17th birthday. My birthday is August 25th, and we were coming up on like. Basically, the season was about to start, but we've been practicing all summer. And it had dawned on me, I'm not going to play. It's my senior year. I'm not going to start. I know I'm good, but I'm not fast enough. And I was a receiver in high school. But I had the hands, man. Like I was confident I could play. I worked all summer. We would go to this summer camp called Gold Beach in Gold Beach, Oregon, and I dominated. It was the first time I had like legitimate self-confidence where
that's awesome. Leading
up to that, I was like, I'm going to kill it at this camp. Like, this is where I'm going to show what I've been working for. Crushed it. Like awesome, I killed it. But High school is, a different world. Like they're trying to get kids into college. So they were moving guys that were already set to go to college to like offense and, moving guys around. And it just hit me. Like I was like, I'm not going to get to play. And then I didn't play all season. Every game, suited up, just stand there on the sidelines.
It's like you have to overcome perception too. Yeah. So like the coaches get this perception of a kid when he's a freshman, and there's so many kids, and in their mind that kid is that kid, and they don't see the changes that kid made all the time. And sometimes a lot of kids make improvements and they go under the radar, and they'll just be dominating JV, like dominating. It's like if this kid is getting 200 yards a game in JV, get him a chance at varsity. Just give him a chance.
It was a tough pill to swallow, but there was I had kind of given up, and then I'm from Boise, Idaho, and that's when Boise State was unstoppable. Kellen Moore and all those guys. And I got to hang out with them. When I was 18, I was going to like all the hookah bars and all the house parties, and I was meeting these guys, and I still had that fire to play. And this is so crazy. I was at a hookah bar, and I was sitting with this guy named Billy Wynn, who ended up being a defensive tackle for the Colts and the Browns.
Name sounds familiar.
He was like a 3rd-round pick, I think. And he sat there, and we were great friends, and he told me, like, hey, man, high school doesn't matter. Like, if you can show up, you can perform, like, they'll take you.
Exactly.
And I had gotten this delusional idea that I could play for Boise State. And so I, like, enrolled as a non-degree seeking student. I moved into this house downtown. I was, like, sneaking into the rec because I knew the wide receivers coach, this guy, I think his name was Robert Prince. He's now a coach for the Lions, I think. Mm-hmm. But I figured if I was, like, around him, I could, sneak away into a tryout. And now it's kind of funny now because realizing how college works, that's not how it works. But the cool thing is I started building relationships with a lot of the players, and they all would train with me. Yeah. And there was this guy named Deontay Florence. He was a corner for them, and he came from the JUCO background. And we would go run routes at the park, and we would do training stuff. And then all these people, I worked with this guy. He was an Olympic speed coach. His name was Pat. God, I wish I could remember his last name. He was such a great dude, but he would meet me at the track, didn't charge me a dime. He knew I didn't really have much to give. People
want to invest in people. When they see somebody that wants to get better, like they'll invest in people. And it's just like people are surprised. Like there's not. So what gave me so I came from like a really small town in Missouri. Like I think it was like 2,000 people. Mm-hmm. I grew up like 8 miles outside of that town. Like there was 36 people on our whole football team. Oh, wow. So like
no one.
Yeah, so like play both ways, and like I don't think anybody got a college scholarship from my hometown in like a decade, like on any level. And it was just not even something that people viewed as possible. And the only reason I got one was we played a bigger school one weekend, and one of the recruiters from a small school happened to see me there. And, like Mizzou was interested in me as a walk-on and stuff, and there were some Division II offers, but it was just unheard of for somebody. And when I got that scholarship, it was before the All-Star game, and I just didn't have any confidence I could compete in college,
Yeah.
And I went to that All-Star game, and these kids going to Wisconsin and all these other places, and they just didn't blow me away. I'm like, they're not that much better than me.
Yeah.
And on, player for player between Division I and Division II, there's not usually a significant difference. It's just when you add all those together, and usually there's one or two super studs at the skill positions, and it's just like you just can't hang at that point. But,
yeah. I mean,
there's some studs that play D2, man. I played against a lot of guys in the NFL.
I mean, yeah, it's there's this like when I went the JUCO route, I had quickly learned like there's so much talent in the college football pool, and being D1 doesn't mean shit. And then it was funny because playing in junior college football, we had a lot of bounce backs.
Yeah.
These guys fucking sucked.
Yeah.
And they were not good people, but two, they weren't even that good. They just had someone whose dad or mom knew someone, so they got that opportunity. So if there's anything I learned from that was there were some dogs in junior college because these guys just had no grades. Yeah. Last Chance U is the perfect depiction of what it was for me, because I went to Butte College in Chico, which is where Aaron Rodgers went before he went to Cal.
Yeah.
And then I went and I did a year in Sacramento at Sac City. And then that's when I kind of realized I was like, I'm doing this for the validation to kind of like prove people.
Well, the worst part is when these dads are pushing their kids for the validation. Oh, yeah. And like a kid will have good grades and they'll have a chance to go like James Madison or like, one of those like high level FCS schools that's a great education, and they'll go to like Louisiana Tech because it's like D1, and they want their kid to be a D1 player. I'm like, you're seriously passing up. Well, I think James Madison is D1 now too. It's a new development.
Are they D1 AA now?
Or no, I think they moved up to D1, but it's like really new development.
Yeah.
But I think at the time this kid had a chance to go to James Madison. It was FCS or D1 AA. And he went to like, I can't remember, like Tulsa or somewhere. I'm like, bro, you're passing on James Madison. You go to fucking Tulsa.
Yeah.
Like,
well, you got to think too, as a kid, that was everything to us. Yeah. The name of the school. Like we're thinking now, we're looking at it as adults. I didn't care what school I went to. Bro, thinking about it now, I should have just stayed at, from an education standpoint, the best thing for me would have just never have left Boise, get a degree from Boise State.
Yeah.
But I mean,
you want to play football. You identify as a football player.
Yeah, well, I used to. I never really identify with that anymore. It was I was doing it to kind of give a big middle finger to everyone that, I got fucked with a lot in high school. I did not have a good high school experience. I feel like that played a role in why I didn't get a lot of opportunity, but it was kind of my way of like, there were guys that started over me that they didn't even believe me.
It's a powerful motivator.
Oh, yeah, it was great. Sure. Well, and it was the first time I experienced camaraderie. And
my best friends this day, most of them are college football.
Yeah, I mean, just like I mentioned, hanging out with my boy Kenny from when we were at Butte. We were talking about how that was the first experience I ever had of support from a team.
Yeah.
I've never felt that until I got to college where, oh my God, these guys are all my side. Yep. Like we're pushing each other. They want to see me succeed.
It's a group within a group because you go to college and you don't have a lot of common with a lot of the other college kids there, but the team, there's always, and you have a reputation of being meatheads. College football, in my experience, wasn't really like that. No, they were just well-rounded dudes that, just like anybody else, that we had something in common and we had a common goal we wanted to work for.
Yep.
And it's just good because like you see these guys walking down the hallway and everybody else is soft and they're complaining about whatever piddly job they have that they have to get. And like you're bruised everywhere and you can't put your hands in your pocket because your fucking finger's broken.
Yeah.
And you see another guy that you play football with and you see the same bruises. And like, I'm going through physical pain to be here. All you other kids can go fuck themselves.
Yeah.
And it makes you just feel like you have a camaraderie with somebody that's deeper. Mm-hmm. And like, it's not just a frat. Like, no hate on people went to frats. But your bonding is literally your hazing and then partying.
Yeah.
And it's like football's a different level, man,
Well, yeah. And I mean, that was the thing was, Butte, we went undefeated. We won the JUCO national championship. That was in 2013. And so we were like unstoppable. Awesome, it was crazy. I mean, the amount of guys from that team that went, that transferred to D1 or some went to the league was insane. But then I knew I didn't have a chance to play there. And I was not, playing, or I was not going to these schools to sit and not play. I was going to start. So I had an opportunity to go to Sacramento. So it's 90 miles south of Chico. So I went down there. And then that was when it was a huge, shift.
Is that Sac State?
Sac City. Yeah, it was a small JUCO, and that was, we all had to lean on each other. Yeah. We were all struggling. There's no money coming to JUCO kids, so a lot of these guys worked at KFC, at Krispy Kreme, all that, and they would sneak food for us. We would go and
it bonds people, man.
Yeah, and so when you have people from vastly different backgrounds bonding through. Trial and tribulation, physical beatdowns. And the year prior, Sac had went like 1-9. And so that year we went like 7-3.
Yeah, I had an opportunity my sophomore year to go from a pretty bad team to we were good, really good the next year. And it's such a good feeling to look at each other in the eyes, knowing what you've gone from and to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's such a fulfilling experience to overcome and go from bad to good.
Yeah, it was, and I was not a part of that 1-9 team. I was part of the best team the last year. So I remember when we got our first win, there were guys like crying. Yeah, like they just couldn't. Seriously. They were so tired of losing. And then we, we were pretty good after that. But yeah, when that season wrapped up, I was beat up. My body hurt. I remember we won our bowl game. It was like the craziest game I've ever been a part of. It was like an overtime last second touchdown and we won. And I
still do. I remember individual plays from college. Yeah. It's crazy how like vivid those memories are.
Oh, what's so funny was the first time I knew I was going to start and play, it was a kickoff and it was the first quarter. And I was like, this is it. This is what I've been waiting years for. I'm 22. First time I played, I've not played football in a game since high school. And, I was running down and I got like blindsided by this kicker. Just leveled me, dude. I'm like, really? That's my first play. Yeah. Or I remember going to hit some guy, my pad flipped up and I hit him bare shoulder.
We were one of the first times we were on television, man. I think it was my sophomore year. The fullback had run out to the flat, and I forgot he was out there, and I was rushing the quarterback, and the quarterback rolled out, and the fullback like hit me in the side. I thought somebody left something on the field, like, and I ran into it. That's how hard I got hit. But they kept replaying that hit of him folding me over, and his name was Goose, and like the whole crowd is like chanting Goose, and I'm like on the ground like hyperventilating. Dude, it's so fucking embarrassing.
Yeah, that's what people don't know.
I mean, it just happens, dude. Like shit happens, but sometimes you take it on the chin, bro.
They're funny. Yeah, I mean, they're funny to laugh at. They we would make fun of each other. We would replay them in film next week. Brutal, But what people don't know is like even those little hits where like guys are blocking and stuff, that hurts. That takes a toll.
Several times like I'm knocked out, dude, and like I knew I was out for a couple seconds. You just don't say anything. You just get up and like, dude, I was just knocked the fuck out. Like, this can't be good for my brain.
Oh yeah, I have friends that have concussions and stuff, like too many, and I'm like, dude, do you even know where you're at? And they're like, don't worry about it.
Those collisions are fucking violent, bro. Like, they don't understand. Like two dudes, 250. Running each other, hitting each other at 15 plus miles an hour. It's like a car wreck, bro.
Yeah, it's football's a brutal game that I'm glad they're starting to pay more attention to like the recovery aspect of it. And we'll touch on that in a minute too, a lot of the recovery trends and methods that are happening now. But as a speed and performance coach and what you do, are there like a lot of common misconceptions that you come about? Because I was told coming up, and this kind of relates to what we're talking about. I felt so limited on speed. I felt like there's no way I'm going to get faster. I'm doing all the training, all this, and this is where I'm at, and I was pretty average to slow. And, how do you address those things when you come across the average, like athlete, someone that's not genetically gifted?
Well, I mean, usually you have to address the parents because they're the ones that are going to spend the money to invest in their kid. And there's a big misconception that, speed is like a natural ability. And there's some truth to everything. Like some kids are naturally fast. But, speed is something that can definitely be trained. And we look at it and fast and we think it's so simple. But when you slow it down, it's so intricate and beautiful and complex. And it's so awesome to work with kids to develop speed through their natural biomechanics, using physics and sequencing and pattern and dispel some of the misconceptions about how you teach speed, and getting them like starting from the ground up and working on their leg cycle and their limb sequencing and their dorsiflexion, and making sure they're everted when they hit the ground and perfecting their arm, like everything that goes into it, like painting that picture and then putting it together and then progressing it into something, and you can like literally time it and just, and then we have these like high-speed cameras where we can overlay what they did with what they're doing and like draw the lines and show that like your hip split wasn't 90, now it's 112, and your second 10-meter split was this and now it's this. And I mean, you can take some kid, almost every kid, and just within the first day find something biomechanically that they're not doing correctly or optimally, and change it and instantly make that kid faster. And the look in their eye when they get faster is great. Everybody thinks that speed is just strength and power.
Yeah.
And, that does play into it. But those are quickly limiting factors. Like you look at like some of the fastest dudes in the world, like, Darryl Green and Usain Bolt. Those dudes don't look like bodybuilders, man. Like there's so much more that goes into speed. Because I don't care if you can deadlift 800 pounds. If you can't produce that much force in less than 0.2 of a second, it does you no good. It's just extra weight. It's just you're having to carry around.
And that was the common misconception I had growing up was I put all my focus into strength training, thinking more power meant more speed.
Me too, when I was that age.
And so that's why I had like crazy, overdeveloped legs when I was in high school, and I had no upper body strength. And it wasn't until I got older that like you have to, it's almost like universal. Like,
usually the opposite of that.
Yeah. Like you have to have like arm motion when you run and it's
a total body.
Exact total body. And
people think like tall chest and stiff core run like no, man, you like flow with it. Like watch fast people, man. They stack and attack.
Yeah.
They use rotation.
I love watching track.
Oh, dude, it's a beautiful thing, dude.
Yeah. The way they flow and they're so in sync. And you can tell each runner, like they're, oh, it's awesome. Watching Usain Bolt was my first introduction to it. And then there's that, what is it? The documentary that just came out on Netflix about I think it's called Speed.
Oh my God, I want to see it. I haven't even heard of it.
It's brand new. Yeah, I'll have to look it up. But
it's just funny. I think there's like commonalities across all fast people, but within those commonalities, there's like different ways to like skin that cat or whatever. And it's really cool to see, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How different people achieve speed in different ways.
Well, one thing that I do enjoy, I actually do watch a lot of the workouts you do, and I try to adopt them into my workouts because I am at a point now where I just don't have any interest in strength training as much. I want to get lean. Like you nailed it on the head. I want to become more athletic, agile, mobile, not really care about being as big, but I think there is that misconception out there where, you're a large man, but you're still.
But I recognize this isn't optimal to be the fastest possible.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, it's kind of a compromise.
Well, I like a lot of the flow movements you do, and I think you even say that in a lot of your stuff where you address this as like flow movement training, and those are really enjoyable and really fun to watch how you use, more like bands, resistant bands, kettlebells. Not everything is just barbells and dumbbells, and where did you start to develop a lot of those methods into your training?
It really took off when I came to acceleration because I got the freedom. And then also kids would come to me that just were limited in either injury or their age. And then, I was training a combination of young kids and then their parents who were in their 40s, 50s, or 60s, right? And they were limited, and barbell stuff didn't work, and normal dumbbell stuff didn't work, and it caused pain. And I was just forced. So, like, if I'm going to be value to this person, to this child, I have to do stuff that isn't a barbell squat or isn't a traditional hang clean. I have to find a way to elicit the stimulus that I need that doesn't cause them pain or hurt their injury, that they can do comfortably based on their biomechanics. So it was just experimenting using physics, what I knew about anatomy and physiology and biomechanics, and to come up with movements that met the needs without doing the things that hurt them, basically. So it's just like over the years, I just developed my toolkit. And then, trained so much as just me and the original guy for years.
Because did you go to school for this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exercise science degree.
Yeah.
But like, it was just me and him. So it was just like, sometimes 40, 50 hours a week of training for 10 years. And it's repetition like anything else.
Do you have like different methods for like, or I guess a better question is since you were saying that you train people of all ages, and seniors, for seniors, how do you approach someone that is older and probably, 50s and up that is either been very sedentary, not very, athletic background, or more injury prone, things like that?
Well, there are differences between the sexes. So like older women are more prone to like bone thinning and joint angles based on wide hips and things like that you have to watch out for. But guys tend to be stiffer. Like you think of them as brittle, like really strong, but brittle. And so the first thing is just figuring out what range of motion they can do comfortably. Like listen to it. They'll tell you what's wrong with them too.
Yeah.
And then just like analyze like simple patterns. And when you have them do like assisted squats and assisted lunges and see what causes them pain. And then just really manipulate the speed variable, the range of motion variable, and then accommodating resistance so that the force curve changes as the joint angle gets bigger, where they're more vulnerable. Find ways to where they can be strong where they're strong and safe, and less weight when they're more vulnerable. And then also, apply that to speed. Because out of the two things, load and speed is far more dangerous, beneficial, but also dangerous than load.
Yeah.
The two things that make up force, right? Acceleration, mass times acceleration. So you can double the weight and keep the speed the same, but if you keep the weight the same and double the speed, that's far more dangerous. So really speed manipulation, even to the point of like isometrics, taking the eccentric out altogether, doing dead stops, just find ways with that within that movement, because they're common human movements, like a squat pattern.
Yeah.
And even that pattern we adjust to their anatomy, finding ways to take that common human movement and fit it to that person perfectly. And so and then just use those variables like range of motion, speed, and then force curve, basically, things like that.
So it's like
I said a lot, man.
No, dude, I'm eating it up. Like, a lot of the times I do get lost in a conversation where I'm like trying to keep up, but this is more up my alley of things that I'm familiar with. When I've worked with when I've had interviews or conversations with like nutritionists and diets and things like that, sometimes I'm like, what? Yeah.
My whole thing is a misconception that people think that Instagram is like do this and not that, right?
Yeah.
It's like, well, no, this is fine. If you like what you're doing and it's not hurting you. But my thing is like, if you can't do this, if this is causing you pain, I want you to feel like you have options, because that's not all you have to do. So it's like, I just want to add options. I love back squatting and hang cleaning. If you can do it safely and it's not hurting you. And if it isn't, do it, man. If you're seeing results and love it, but don't watch. What bothers me is when they see me give people options and they say, that's garbage, don't do that. It was like, well, what are you bringing to the table?
Yeah.
What options are you giving to these people other than telling them just to squat more?
Yeah. What's funny is one of the things I was going to bring up too, I guess we can get into it, is what's up, guys? Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Up Physiques. Level Up Physiques is your solution for any fitness goal. Level Up utilizes science-backed principles coupled with over 20 years of combined experience to achieve any goal from losing a few pounds to becoming a high-level bodybuilder. I have personally recommended Level Up Physiques to my own family members, and I've seen crazy results. Level Up started right here in Austin, Texas. They offer live services like one-on-one personal training, virtual coaching is available at any location, and hybrid virtual/live packages for whatever your coaching needs are. If you're tired of coaches that are slow to respond, they make cookie cutter programs, or they just downright ghost you, Level Up is your team. They believe in a comprehensive and individualized coaching approach, a high level of communication and education, and a strong and supportive community. So use the discount code ATX to get 50% off of any virtual coaching package on their website, or mention this podcast to get 50% off your first month. Check out Level Up Physiques today. I think you know my buddy Larry. He is a manager at On It Gym.
Yeah.
He just did a pod, and he was talking about how a lot of these fitness influencers don't really know what they're doing. It's like they get on there, they start giving advice, and it's like they're almost saturating the industry, the training industry, but they're also kind of putting people at danger too. You know, they have this massive following, but they're, you know, saying one fits all in a sense. And
I mean, it's Instagram, social media in general is a double-edged sword because, you know, there is that, but also now people have access to professionals and people with great minds that do give out a lot of great information. And it's hard trying to weave your way through that.
I look at it from like a beginner standpoint, because a lot of what people I encounter are people that are, you know, new. You know, they're either out of shape, they're sedentary, they work office jobs, they're not, you know, they're trying to get into health and wellness, and so they don't know where to start. And that's what I think about when I see those things, where I'm like, man, there's someone that's seeing this that's easily influenced, that could just be misled so quickly. And so I don't know, what do you think? Do you think social media is, you kind of said it as a double-edged sword, do you think it's, you know, ruining the training industry, or do you think it's like
no, I don't.
pros and cons?
I just think there's personal responsibility, right? It's just another level of freedom, honestly.
Yeah.
And with freedom comes responsibility. And if you're going to look at that, I mean, and you're going to be duped into following some jackass, then I'm sorry, but that's freedom. You know, I can't babysit you. The thing is, here's some guidelines. So if somebody's coming out and they're being black and white about something, say, do this and not this. Yeah. This is good and this is garbage. Or this is the only way to train. And then they stay away from nuance. And they don't talk about contextuality at all, and they don't really explain in depth why they want you to do certain things. Like, take that with a grain of salt, especially if they're trying to sell you some shit. Take all of that with a grain of salt. Yeah. You know, and generally, man, if they say you have to do it this way, don't fucking listen to them, because there's no one way that you have to do it this way. Yeah.
You mean there's not one perfect workout?
Yeah, it's like insane that people like still believe that, and it honestly fucking confuses people. And nutrition is the same way, and it scares people into like they just don't start.
Yeah, well, I mean, nutrition in general is a scary thing, because everyone thinks their, you know, preferred diet is the one you should be on. There's like the ketogenic diets, the paleo, the carnivore. Earlier, I was actually watching Sean Baker. I got to meet him briefly.
Oh, I met him too, dude.
I saw him at the Hack Your Health Expo. But yeah, great guy. The carnivore. You know, I think he kind of, I could be misquoting, I don't want to, but he was talking about how like it really kind of comes down to the individual. You know, like I have a buddy that's a vegan, but he does it because every time he eats a burger or something, he gets really sick.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate on vegans, but I hate on vegans that like on the title of their Instagram, it says something about being a vegan, and everything is like everything other than veganism is just bullshit and horrible.
Yeah,
you know, it's like,
I know some people like that. Yeah, it's, you know, and then with like, you know, nutrition preferences, then there comes the supplement people, the one that are trying to push every supplement, and to me, how I even got started in all this was working at a supplement store. Yeah. And I used to tell people all the time, like, they're called supplements, not substitutes. No, you know, they really only kind of supplement what you're already producing. And I remember when we were talking at House of Gains, I was like, dude, we got to stop. We got to talk about this on the show. You know, I wanted to get kind of your thoughts on like the recent boom in Ozempic and how that's like starting to take over the market of all the weight loss people, because, well, first, like, I'll get your thoughts on Ozempic in general.
First of all, it was designed as like a last-ditch drug for like type 2 diabetic people, I believe, where they had to lose some weight, and, you know, in order so they wouldn't fucking die.
Yeah.
And it really, at its core, it fucking pisses me off because people, they're just trying to be fucking lazy.
Yeah.
Like there's still a lot of ways to lose weight, and you're taking the easy route, and then you're doing it without weightlifting. And like they read all of the negative side effects from it, and they don't give a shit. They just want to be skinny.
Yeah.
And I just have no respect. I'm sorry. I have no respect for people like that because you're willing to like completely risk your health. Like steroids are bad, and I take testosterone, and there are negative side effects, and I have to control the dose of that, right? Mm-hmm. There's negative side effects to everything. Yeah. And steroids are no exception. If you abuse steroids, there are no negative side effects. It's not as outlandish as people paint it out to be, right? You're not going to take a shot of testosterone and go murder your neighbor and your testicles will drop off and all this other shit, you know? But you can abuse it, and it can detrimentally affect your health. Yeah. But the one thing that's almost always detrimental to your health at any dose are things that affect your weight, because it affects like bone density and thyroid and that feedback loop, that crucial feedback loop within your body. And it causes like heart problems, bone loss. Like those things are so fucking bad for you. And it's just like they know it and they don't care.
Yeah, they're trying so hard to just get that image, get that validation. Like there's, they're not taking the healthy approach to it. And I see a lot of that kind of touching on, test and steroids in general with youth now because
it's insane, dude.
because of, the how a lot of this younger crowd looks up and they want to look, like the people they watch on YouTube, the Logan Pauls, the Chris Bumsteads.
I'm sorry, but it's not on those people, man. I'm sorry.
It's not on them. No. Kid. Yeah. Like, the thing is, I meet a lot of these kids, in the gym and all that. And they just talk about how like they're trying to get on tests. And I'm like, bro, you're 19.
Bro, it's nuts. You have no idea how many kids and parents about their kids will come up to me asking about testosterone. Yeah. And it's like, it's so irresponsible. I'm like, do you not want to have kids when you're older? Yeah. Like, do you know you're going to permanently affect your natural testosterone levels. And for fucking what? Yeah. Like, you're not going to go to the NFL. Like, dude, I lifted naturally from the time I was 13 until I was 40 years old. Yeah. I've only been on testosterone for 4 years, and it does help and it makes a difference, but I have to be very careful because I'm very sensitive to side effects with it. I have to keep it very low. It's not because I'm trying to like not cheat. It's because I've tried higher and it's like, it fucks with me. Yeah. Like, like I already have bad skin. It makes it worse, man. And like all this other shit, like it does happen. You got to be really careful with it. And I'm not going to say it doesn't help, but that cannot be the base of your pyramid. Yeah. Like I always say, I have a fitness pyramid, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like safety is first, obviously. Yeah. And then it's like consistency. And then it's like comprehensive approach. Then it's intensity. Then it's specialized techniques. And then at the very top, it's supplementation, hormones. Yeah. Right? And it's like, the first two things people ask me about? Hormones and those specialized techniques. They see me doing something cool in the gym. Like, I want to do that. Is that your secret? No, motherfucker. My secret is I've been safe, more or less, for 30 years. And I'm in here every fucking day. Yeah. And that's the two things people don't want to talk about. They don't want to ask me like how they do their workouts more safely so they can stop being hurt all the time, and how they can structure their day or come up with a new plan or be willing to work out in a different way based on their lifestyle that will help them get to the gym more consistently. Nobody fucking asked me about that. And those are the two things that really matter. Or, they're all into bodybuilding and they don't do any fucking cardio. That's that comprehensive approach I'm talking about. Nobody asked me about that. They're always like, hey, what do you take? Or, hey, what's that crazy drop set you just did? I'm like, don't worry about it. It will do you no fucking good.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too, is those bodybuilders, whether they want to admit it or not, they're all in gear. And at least like a lot of the pros and stuff, but they are also the hardest working people ever. They do hours of cardio. Their diets are down to the minute, and the weight of it.
If you think you could take every steroid known to man, and if you think you could look anything close to what those dudes look like, you're fucking insane. No. Because I know gym rats that take all that shit.
Oh yeah.
Dudes will tell me what they take, and I'm like, how are you still alive? And they look like garbage.
Oh yeah. Well, and one of the things I see coming back with like the youth too is, if they can't get access to like testosterone or like heavy steroids, like the scary ones, then what they do is, which I personally don't think that they should be allowed to sell them, or they go get like pro hormones or SARMs. Yeah,
because they think they're safe too. Yes. And they don't have to actually put a needle in them, so I think it's not cheating.
Well, SARMs, is a scary one. I'm not taking.
There's not research behind them, not enough. Anyway.
Yeah, it's what's it stand for? It's a selective androgen receptor module. Yeah, or modulator. And
those do have the potential to be beneficial in a clinical environment, but they're just not well enough tested, especially things that affect your growth hormone and shit. Like,
well, you had touched on that too with the Ozempic, where a lot of these kids don't understand that they're still growing. They might feel like adults because they're 18, 19 years old, but they're still developing. Their bodies are still moving. And so if they just start taking something crazy like Tren or
they all go right to trend.
Yeah,
I'm like, you're taking a
like,
cattle steroid, bro. Like, what the?
Yeah, or
they won't do any test and they take tren. It's like,
Yeah.
you're gonna take tren.
The scariest one out there with like one of the most devastating side effects too, and high suicide rates. But they jump on that, but they don't understand that there's now you're at high risk for ligament damage. You know, you're just everything else after that. Your test levels will dump. I've seen these kids get on.
Sometimes they never come back permanently.
Oh, I've seen kids
Not
that
to
don't
the
know how to
level.
post cycle correctly,
God,
and they
yeah.
just drop.
It's not just injecting testosterone. It's blood work and it's post cycle and if there's so much. It's like, are you willing to do this properly? If not, you should not do it. But you probably shouldn't do it anyway, unless there's money behind it or like you need it. But like the trend shit, it's like, how the fuck are you gonna jump from nothing? Like, there's a few steroids that like do affect you psychologically.
Oh, yeah.
And Trenbolone and maybe halo testing. That's a couple of them, man.
Yeah,
And the dudes that are like, they're married and they're taking trend, and I'm like, well, I hope you like being single because you're not gonna be married much longer.
Well, and I think a lot of it just comes down to gym culture today. Gym culture is, you know, when I was a kid, when I was like 18, 19, we like going in the weight room, like I didn't know anything about steroids, you know?
I remember saw somebody taking creatine one time. I'm like, what's that?
Yeah. Creatine.
And I took it. I'm like, this stuff's amazing.
Yeah. Coming from Boise, that's where bodybuilding.com started.
Oh, really?
And
No shit.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. These, I think the founders went to my high school, I think. Much older than me, the DeLuca brothers.
Love bodybuilding.com.
Yeah, dude, it was awesome. Well, there was a huge like gym culture out there, but our thing is we looked up to guys that were jacked and like, you know, we didn't know that most of them were on gear and let alone were we like, let's get on it.
Dude, just look around your gym these days. Just fucking take a look, man.
Yeah.
It's these, I would say if somebody hooked a heart rate monitor up to them and they were monitoring that and they didn't know where they were, they could easily be gardening. Like, they just don't work hard.
Yeah.
Like, no one like breaks a sweat or strains. It's like, you don't work hard enough.
Yeah.
Like, stop asking me about steroids. Like, you do know, right? Like, you have androgens, which are steroids, and then you have androgen receptors. If you don't develop the androgen receptor, which is like years of weightlifting, it does no fucking good, man. Yeah. It's like, just keep pumping yourself and like, just see it's not going to do any good.
Well, you know, I was at the gym the other day. I think it was last week. And it's not that I'm not guilty of it because I 100% am, but I was looking around and I just took a minute to look around and I realized every single person, everyone that I was looking at in the gym was just sitting on their phone. And I'm thinking, I'm guilty of it too. I do it often.
Yeah,
I'm like always like trying to do work stuff and stuff.
Same, yeah.
But I'm trying to get better at getting away from that. And I put my phone on silent. You know, I try really hard to not look at it, but it definitely affects your workout. And I'm talkative. And you know this. I've talked to you in the gym where I've even told you, I'm like, hey man, if like, feel free to cut me off.
There's a balance to be met there. You know what I mean? Like, you can be social in the gym, be on your phone a little bit. I'm not one person that hates on people for being on their phone. But there's a time when you're sitting on a machine and it's like 10 minutes and you're on your phone. It's like, what are you even doing here?
Yeah. Well, it ruins. I've had to start telling people like, hey, I can't talk. Like, it ruins my momentum.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
For sure.
Coming to your point, like the heart monitor, you know, if I stop working now, it's going to ruin my whole workout. Might as well just go
like,
home.
how much fucking time do you people have, man?
Yeah, I'm usually in here all day. So when I'm in there now, that's one thing, you know, I switch up gyms often. I'm fortunate to get to go to really any gym I want out here. But I try to go the ones where I'm not at risk of talking to people I know or seeing them because I will talk nonstop.
People hit me up for advice all the time, like, because I've known them for years too. And I can't say no to them. And I stop it does ruin my workout, but I'm not going to not give somebody advice when they ask me. So,
you know, what's funny is when I had Mike in here, one of the questions I asked him, which I'm curious to hear your thoughts on, is do you think trainers or actors or even influencers and all them should be more transparent and open about steroid use?
You know, I don't know. It's a really hard thing, man. Because in my experience, like, even though I'm honest about what I take, people still don't believe me. But you know, I really, you know, it is weird when somebody's clearly on steroids and they lie about it.
Yeah.
I don't really know the right answer to that, man. I'm just like, because, you know, I'm not going to tell another dude what he should do or own up to or whatever. I just know, like, I'm not going to pretend like I'm not on testosterone.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, it's like I see, you know, this is almost like the same conversation I had with Mike, but it was, you know, I see the guy like Alan Richardson from Reacher and all them, and they just talk about like, oh, it's completely natural, or Mark Wahlberg talking about how he gained like 30 pounds and what something of muscle in like 8 weeks or something like crazy like that. And I'm just like, you didn't.
Well, there's always that pause. Like there are genetic freaks, but they're like 1 in a million, right?
Yeah,
it's like the Herschel Walkers or the Bo Jacksons. Like they're 1 in a million. You know, I love Michael Hearn, but you know, him saying that he's been lifetime natural, it's like, come on, bro. Like it's still an amazing, you could take every steroid known to man. That's still an amazing accomplishment. It takes nothing away from you. But if it's just like Liver King, once they find out, and Liver King, dude, you know, when looking at that dude's stuff, he took a lot, but it wasn't like insane. He was still in great shape. Like people want to hate it on that dude for him. Like, why do you need to lie, bro?
Yeah.
You know, I'm torn to talk about it too, because I don't want people to emulate me and just hop on steroids. But also like, I don't want them to think, you know, that this is just completely possible for everybody natural. You know, before I got on gear, I was 248% body fat. So, you know, I was at a point where most people can't reach natural anyway, but now I'm 268%. And I probably couldn't be 260 natural. You know what I mean? So, but I don't want that to be like model behavior for young people. And so I got to be like, hey man, I did not take steroids until I was 40 and I'm glad I didn't, you know what I mean? And like really like, it's just, there's a risk for everything you do.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Gameday Men's Health. These guys are great. I actually personally use them. You feel a little sluggish or not as good as you used to? Well, Gameday Men's Health is here to help. You can easily schedule your visit online, or you can just walk in at your convenience. These guys make things really easy. You get immediate testing, and then you get to review your test results with a medical professional. These guys get you in and out super quick. You can get a free rapid testosterone test with results ready in just 15 minutes. You get to discuss your health goals and concerns in a detailed consultation, and you can begin your treatment immediately after your consultation. Other offered services include hormone replacement therapy, ED services, hair loss, peptide, weight loss, and vitamin treatments. So if you're ready to take the next step, scan the QR code below or click the link in the description. Get your free consultation today. Take charge of your performance and wellness. Check out Gameday Men's Health. Well, so my thoughts on that is I think that if they do run it and then they're going to promote like their physique, like when I see the Men's Health do videos and stuff, I think that they should, to a small degree, be open about it. So, you know, and same with like guys like in the bodybuilding world or things like that. And this is just my opinion. I mean, it is open to debate, but I think that they have a responsibility when you have these younger guys that are looking up to them that everyone already knows. But
plus,
then
a lot of those dudes look pretty good. And if they were open about it and said their cycle, because, you know, my guess is a lot of those dudes don't do very much. Like, I don't do a lot really because you don't really need it. And I think a lot of those dudes do a lot less than people think. They probably just do a little bit of test, maybe a little bit of Anavar or something. And maybe that's it. And like, you don't need a lot. And and they work really hard and everything's dialed in and it just gives them a little bit of an edge. Right. So I don't think they're on these massive amounts of steroids like the pro bodybuilders are. But like the fitness guys, I don't think they are. I think they actually take a small amount.
Well, and the reason I think that, like my opinion on it, why they should be a little more open about it is because when you have someone younger that's wanting to look and emulate that image, that they're going to just start taking things. And so I'm looking at it from a knowledge standpoint. Like if these guys come out and they talk about it, obviously the stuff that they're taking is not legal. So I get why they can't.
Well, I mean, for like us, it is because I'm like of age and like I need it. Like I got prescribed it. So it's legal for me. And then, but that is another thing, man. You're encouraging these kids to do something illegal.
Yeah. So like I always go back and forth with it where I'm like, do they talk about it? If they don't, like they can't really talk about something that's
a good point because if they're not getting it from you, they're going to get it from their local gym bro that doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about.
I think that and it's so tough because like getting proper education is, you know, open to, it's subjective because you know, you could have an influencer or a coach or someone that you like who might just be misinformed or someone you disagree with. So now you're at risk of having these youngsters like take the wrong stuff.
I mean, you know, I'm very rarely cut and dry black and white, but there is no reason for anybody under the age of 30 or 35 to ever do steroids unless they're going to make money at it. Yeah. Now, if you want to do it to look better, that's great, man. But I just don't think it's worth it. You know, like I'm so glad I didn't use steroids when I was in my 20s. Like it probably would have fucked me up for life.
Well, I had a lot of friends that did it when I was in my early 20s, and I just watched how it would just wreck them. You know, and they would just take it so stupidly, just open it. They just take a bunch, and then they would stop. And then I'm like, and then I would watch them have drastic personality changes, and their body would shift. It was terrible to watch, and it always scared me from wanting to try that stuff. I'm like, I'm not doing any of that.
I'm like, you just got to go to the root too. It's like, do you get your self-worth from your physique?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's very important to be, physical shape, but like, is that where your self-worth comes from, man? Because then we need to dive into something deeper.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
well, I remember I took a test for, I think it was like a year and a half. It was like right towards the end of COVID. And I kind of blindly jumped into it. I was really tired all the time. I'd gotten out of shape. I wasn't really working out. I had no energy to work out.
That's kind of my story too, man.
And so I was like, well, I was like, I think my test is probably just low. And so I started taking tests, and then I was just taking I wasn't taking a ton. I was just hoping to get more. And yeah, my energy levels went up, but then I started to retain, I don't know if it's related to the test or not, but I started retaining water more. I was getting bloated, started losing my hair. And then I went and got labs done, and they're like, dude, you don't need this. And which is what I should have done before. Yeah. So I was so dumb for just jumping into it, uneducated and not really trying to approach it the best way. I was looking for a quick fix. And what I realized was I was just depressed. COVID had taken everything from me, and I, was having a hard time bouncing back. And all I needed to do was just better my lifestyle and eat healthier and not drink as much. And
like, I felt great up until like 34, 35, right? And then like 37 hit me like a ton of bricks, bro. But I just had a kid. I was working out like 2 times a week. I was like sleep deprived, struggles in my marriage. And then I got my test checked, and it was low. And like looking back on it, it's like, man, it's probably a lot to do with my life situation. So then like waited a while, got on test around 40. I think I was like 2 months shy of my 40th birthday, and felt better immediately. You know what I mean? But then now like I'm on test, and I've gotten off it for like 6 months at a time, and I don't see a huge difference, but I do like post cycle. It's a fucking pain in the ass, bro. Like I hope you like sticking a needle in you twice a week.
Yeah. That was like, the one thing I'm trying to avoid is I actually just got my labs done. And when did we go, Johnny? We were at Gameday Men's Health.
Okay, yeah. Cool.
And we started working with them. And when was that? Thursday?
Yeah.
And dude, I got my labs and blood results, and my test is low. And I was like, well, I'm going to look at every natural alternative first. Like, I don't want to get back, getting shots and stuff. And I'll be 32 in August. So I think that a lot of it's stress related. I think that if I start, I just need to make some lifestyle changes. I'll probably go in for a checkup.
You got to listen to like Andy Galpin. Like he's really balanced on this. Like there is a lot of things that affect your sense of well-being, your sex drive, your muscle gain, other than testosterone. Like it's not the be all end all. So some dudes will have kind of low test and even kind of lowish free test, but they have really sensitive androgen receptors, and they just don't need a lot of test. Yeah. And sometimes if you give those dudes test, it fucks them up, and some dudes have super high tests, their androgen receptors are fucked up, it's all bound up with shit, and then other things they're doing are affecting them. And like we act like just taking testosterone is going to fix everything. No, it's like maybe one piece of the puzzle.
Well, yeah, and that's like as I learn more and more about it, I do start to see this trend of people that they think it's a quick fix, like fix all though, and that it's going to somehow solve all their problems, whether it's like weight loss, muscle growth, energy, and all that. And it's like it does play a pivotal role, but it's not the entire picture.
I mean, I remind them, I'm like, hey, you see chicks walking around, they're in good shape. And guess what? They have virtually zero test.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And true, testosterone is more important for us for that stuff than it is for them because they have different mechanisms. But it's not the be all end all, man.
No. And I get so tired of, meeting all these personal trainers and stuff that come in, and it's like they don't really have the experience. And I meet a lot of awesome trainers. Yeah. But a lot of these new guys come in, and then they're just like trying to put everyone on a stack, and then they want to like coach them after that. And I'm like,
well, and then they know just enough to be dangerous. Like estrogen is not the fucking devil. Like we need, as men, we need some estrogen. Balance. Like if you take an anti-estrogen that plummets your estrogen, that's not good either. That's hard on your heart. You feel like shit. Like these things are intricate, man, and you're fucking with your hormones, dude.
Yeah. It's well, even the person. Well, actually, do you think that it's kind of a curveball? But I was just thinking about it. Do you think that the personal training industry is it's kind of on edge right now? Everyone's kind of wondering. Do you think AI is gonna like destroy the personal training industry?
No, because and this is why it will destroy a lot of industries, but not personal training, because it's not really about the training. And people like, well, I go to my trainer for the training. No, it's not. they need the personal connection. They need an outlet with somebody that'll build them up and lift their confidence. And they need somebody that can adjust on the fly, that knows them and their personality and what they like and don't like. So there will always be a place for good personal trainers. Now, if you're a shitty personal trainer that carries around a clipboard and does your 3 sets of 10 bullshit on the machine, yeah, absolutely. Plug it in AI. Yeah. You know, I mean, it'll do a way better job than you. But like, it's not just knowing a better exercise or the optimal workout. It's like seeing that person come in, listening to them, understanding inherently as a human how they're feeling and what they're ready for, and then giving them exercises while you talk to them and listen to their problems. Yeah. Like, because it's more than just like what's your body ready for or an alternative that's ideal for this. It's like, what do you like as a person? What are you ready for right now? Like, being a trainer, a good trainer, is a very complex thing. And it's just sad because it gets such a shitty name because there's such a low entry level into training. Yeah. People think because they like to work out that they make a good trainer. No, the question is, do you like to serve people? Do you like to help people? Are you invested in people? Do you want to learn? Are you curious? Because like, you can like to work out and be a fucking horrible trainer. Like,
yeah. Oh, dude, I see it all the time. I mean, we have that feature on the Austin Fitness community website, the Find a Trainer feature, and I'm starting to like set up calls with them first before like just putting them blindly on the site. Where I'm trying to figure out if like, are they gonna be like, is this gonna fall back on me somehow? Is this like, are they a shitty trainer?
It's so hard to recommend.
Is this someone
people.
that's just like trying to make a quick buck, or is this something they're passionate about? And I very rarely see that. And I have been seeing a lot of teams pop up, not just bodybuilding, but just like group training teams.
That's kind of cool, man.
And I think that, that's kind of an important thing. I think camaraderie is an unrecognized but important role,
and some accountability there.
Yeah. You know, that's why I really like going to a lot of those like group fitness workouts and doing that stuff where when you got someone in your ear, like, you know, or you're suffering
together.
A lot
of people tell me that's why they have a trainer, is because they need accountability. They make an appointment, they have an appointment, they go to it. I mean, there's that aspect too. You know?
Yeah.
Are you gonna have an appointment with AI?
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck if I do.
Well, and it's like for AI too, you know, I have a feeling a lot of these trainers are going to generate their programs through AI and stuff. And,
here's the thing too, the fucking program doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
You give me a program and I'll train you through that program. It'll be entirely different than what some jackass will. Like, I'll see the nuances of how you squat and I'll adjust it to you and give you tips as you go. I'll know the weights and all that shit. So the program doesn't fucking matter really. I mean, you know, I can give some of the optimal fucking program. Everybody's always asking me for a program. I'm like, I'll give you the optimal program. Like, you won't do it optimally.
Yeah. You need someone there to keep you from cheating, because I can't tell you how many times I've like worked out. I'm like, I'm not doing that. Yeah. I'm not going to finish up with cardio.
Me, man. I'm not doing shit I know I should do. You know?
No, everyone's like, you got to get your cardio in. And I'm like, I don't feel like, I don't know. Do you think cardio is like super necessary when it comes to getting
cardio is a broad term, right?
Yeah.
So like, you can get your cardio in with your weights if you train a little bit differently in weights. Like, what is cardio? It's just like, it's, you know, your heart rate and your metabolic system. You don't need to do steady state cardio for your cardio. You can go for hikes. You can, like, if you work out in the yard a lot and get your heart rate up even, that can count as cardio. It doesn't have to be this boring thing we do, you know? So.
No. Yeah, it's, for me, it's become something I've adopted more in my training regimen.
Well, doing things for your cardiovascular health is very important.
Well, and it's just, I feel good, you know, and I don't want, oh my God, there's, I'm surprised you haven't started one yet. There's so many run clubs in Austin now, and everyone's getting into it because there's, you know, it's a really good community. There's a lot of people meeting, you know, friends and significant others at these run clubs. But, you know, the one thing that's as old as time is the runner's high.
Yeah.
And so that's why I've really started to introduce like more high intense cardio at the end of my workouts, because I feel it's like a great ending. But I don't know if I want to.
You know, another cool thing would be like hiking clubs, man. People go and fucking hike together with weight and shit like that. It's like safer and stuff like that.
Are there places to hike around here? It's all flatlands.
Down south a little bit.
Yeah, it's hiking's a little more enjoyable. Being in Boise, they had some great trails and some great hills. It's a very like bumpy terrain, so there's a lot of places to go hiking. But yeah, I haven't done much out here. The run clubs are exploding though.
I just wish people would sprint more, man. Like, I feel like the world would be such a better place if every time somebody had a tiff, they'd challenge them to a race. Instead of like go on social media and talk shit about them or like talk behind their back, you know, or it's like, hey, like fucking foot race, man. Like,
you should start doing that. Anyone that's like just start challenging, race, like man. Saturday challenges. It's like those critics, the writers that would like this guy would do it like once a year or a month or something where he would challenge them to fight anyone that, he was a film director, and he would have critics come and he would box them in a ring.
Fucking awesome, dude.
God, that guy was awesome. Yeah, I can't remember.
Still this day, guilty admission is like people walking on, I bet I'm faster than that motherfucker.
Dude,
I'll be like church or something, like I bet I'm faster than that.
Oh yeah, I can't help but like start. I get so competitive too. It's an edge that has never left. Whenever I start getting in those environments, I'm like, oh dude, you gotta go and stuff. And so you know, you should do that. You should do an event. You have any events coming up? You're gonna do a?
No, we're trying to like launch this community, like fitness and personal development community. It's kind of taking all our time right now, so our focus is on that. And
what would that entail?
So, you know, people join and you have a curriculum that goes over like professional mental development and strategies to like get your mind right, create an environment to optimize like your success, and can help control your thoughts, and then like help build habits, and just little you know, curriculum for like nutrition and fitness, and just like kind of my tenets and what I follow, and helping walking people through that. And then, you know, once a week, there's a community online, and I'll respond to people's questions. And then once a week, they'll you know, there's a group call where they'll get on there.
That'll be cool.
And we're going to launch it here in a week or two.
This will be just online? Like,
yeah, it'll be online. And then, you know, we might have meetups and stuff eventually.
Cool.
But,
do like a community workout, like what are they called? Like a getaway?
We haven't like launched it officially, but we put something out. So there's some people in it now. So it's like the pilot group.
It's not like a man camp, is it?
No, we got like 2 chicks in there. And like at first, dude, I was like against it because you think of like life coaches and they have like a negative connotation. But these fucking people are high speed, man. And they're just kind of looking for an edge and like want to optimize some things. And as soon as I got in there, man, these people like they're on it and they just want to get better.
Yeah, I think it kind of, I think there is a vast difference between like lifestyle coaching and then life coaching in the individuals that lead it. Because if there's anything I've noticed lately, and I catch shit for this all the time because I make fun of them, is like there's like these life coaches, these healers, the alpha male camps, like all that weird shit. And all it ever really comes down to when you take the mask off is like sex cult. Like they're all these like weird.
I'm hoping to turn mine into a sex cult.
Yeah, and they always, dude. Every time I'm around them, I'm like, oh, dude.
Oh, man, they get so creepy. And then they put this like one dude becomes like their god.
Yeah,
it's so fucking
this is how
creepy.
cults start. Yeah,
yeah. It's like, dude, it's fucking you in the butt, man. It's not therapy.
No, yeah, it's. But
wait, am I allowed to say that? Is that
you can say whatever you want, dude. Yeah, I just.
Have you ever seen that's it happened here in Austin, the Holy Hell, that documentary? What's that fucking place? The theater.
The Ritz downtown?
No, it's on Bee Cave Road. There's that theater there.
Oh, yeah.
It was built by a fucking cult, man. They did a documentary on it.
Rogan talks about it. He was going to make that his club. Yeah.
It's freaking creepy, bro.
Yeah, that guy was a porn star.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know how he did it, but then he like moved to Hawaii or something. Yeah, I briefly remember this. But yeah, I don't know how people fall for that.
It's like, dude,
I don't know how
seriously.
cults start. I don't know how any, like, they just give all their money. Like the interesting one is in Waco. You ever seen the show on Hulu? It's a great show.
About David Koresh and all that stuff? Oh, dude.
But it's like these people just like give them all their money and move in, let him bang their wife.
My wife, like,
and it's just like,
it's crazy, dude.
What?
You listen to that dude talk. That dude was smooth, man. And people, you know, like they're just not that intelligent, dude. Well, they're looking for a leader and somebody like make them feel. Yeah. And they, you know, basically they find people that want to feel like they're part of something bigger.
Exactly.
You know, and like most hate groups are not about hate. It's lonely people that they feel like they have to have a cause. Yeah. And like
they need to be a part of something.
Yeah. Like most like white supremacist groups, you talk to first of all, other than the leader who's fucking evil, most of the people in there are just like dumb.
Yeah.
And have never met a black person. It's like you hate black people and Jews. You have never met a black person or Jew in your life. Yeah. Like ever.
Well, who was that? The blues player. But he also did interviews. But he would go and he's changed like a ton of Klan guys. Like they've thrown away their stuff.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, that's super cool.
And all he did was sit and talk with them.
Super cool.
Yeah, and it's that simple. And you know, I think that people gravitate to that, you know, and they want that camaraderie. And once you get it, it's an incredible feeling.
I read a great book one time about a dude that lived with a hate group. I think it was a Klan or something like that for like a year. Mm-hmm. And he kind of wrote about at the core, it's just these lonely dudes that need a home, you know, and it's not really about hate, but the hate is their cause, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, even coming back full circle to the beginning of our conversation, when I was talking about when I went to play football in college and when I was in Chico, that was the first time I had ever experienced like a team camaraderie where I felt like, you know, these guys wanted me there, where they wanted to see me succeed and move up. And I mean, it's
Bro,
an
if you
incredible
can play
feeling.
football and still be racist, like something's fucking wrong.
Yeah,
with you.
dude. I mean, I was the token white for years.
Yeah, but if you can play, you can play.
Yeah,
I don't care. Right?
Yeah,
like,
we all had a shared objective, and it brought us closer together. And we went through, you know, a struggle together. And I think that there's room for that in kind of like a weird transition into fitness, though.
Yeah.
You know, I think that when people, and I think that's why these run clubs are so popular, and you know, a lot of group fitness centers and just community in general, is when you go through a struggle together.
Yep.
It bonds people. It brings you together. When you
struggle,
overcome,
it's struggle dependent dopamine release.
Yeah.
And it's very important, as opposed to struggle independent dopamine release. So we bond with people that we release dopamine with, right?
Yeah.
So that's why people bond over partying and all this other shit, or sex or whatever. But we bond over people with struggle dependent. It's very healthy.
Yeah.
Like that's where like really close friendship, like, so you're spot on there, man. Like,
yeah. And I think that's what I've always tried to do with what I have here, is take me out of the equation. You know, I don't ever try to build this around me or make me like, you know, the face of it, where everyone's seemingly following me as an individual. But I try to take into account of everyone, and then try to do more community oriented events, or create like community oriented resources, things that kind of, you know, connect everyone to one. And, you know, that's always been my vision for it, as in a broader term, in a bigger picture. I think that it's important to always focus on everyone as a community versus what my specific needs are. And so
it's pretty cool, man.
It's kind of, it's fun. You know, I'm always learning. I'm no fitness expert, but I get to meet and talk to guys like you all the time and learn more and more stuff. And it's a really exciting and unique opportunity. And
super cool, man.
I'm always trying to encourage others to get in on it. And, you know, like, you never know. You just got to ask too. Sometimes, you know, you never know what you'll learn. I don't know shit. Like, I get asked all the time, like, if I'll train people, and I'm like, you don't want me as a trainer, dude. I was like, I'm still trying to figure it out myself.
Well, the most dangerous dude is the dude that thinks they fucking know everything.
Oh,
right?
God.
Like every day you should learn something new, right? Like,
yeah, well, that's like when I meet a lot of these trainers too. They think that they know everything, and one of my
they're like in their early 20s and fucking thinking, it's like, how the fuck do you think you know everything?
They just have it's like no one ever wants to say like, oh, I'll find the answer to that. You know, I have in fact, it's one of the sponsors of this show, my buddy Tyler Fluid. He owns a bodybuilding team, Level Up Physiques. You should meet him sometime. He's a great guy, but he's constantly learning, and he's constantly trying to discover and learn more stuff. He never really thinks he has the answers to everything.
Bro, at Sornex, I was around Division I head strength coaches. Chip Morton, who was like a strength coach at NFL for 30 years, and he's in South Carolina now. Gunnar Peterson, trained stars. Every one of those dudes, when I gave my little presentation, was fucking taking notes. I'm like, these dudes have 40 years of experience, and they're taking notes. It's not because I'm special. It's because this is how you do it. I want to be like them. Like, been in this industry for 40 years and renowned, and still somebody talks, and I listen to what they say.
Yep.
Because I don't swallow it, but I chew on it and I think about it, and I don't pretend like I know everything.
Yeah.
And like, you look at the great ones, man, they're always fucking learning.
Yeah.
They don't dismiss anything right away.
No, I pride myself on being someone that admits, like, oh, I don't know something. I meet people all the time that will sit there and boldface lie, and I'm like, dude, you know, it's so much easier to just say I don't know. Yeah,
it's fucking,
I do it all the time. I don't know most things. So when someone asks me for like an answer to something, I'm like, because
that's the thing too, is like, you might know 100 things, you know, but if you bullshit on one thing, you're known as a bullshitter.
Yeah.
And then those 100 things that you do know and you can help people out, they're not going to fucking listen to you.
No.
You know, so if you want to help people, don't bullshit, because they won't listen to you.
Yeah. I mean, even at the gym, sometimes I'll get, I don't know what I'm doing, or I'll get someone that comes up and they're like, hey, try it this way or this. And I'm like, all right, yeah.
Well, that's another thing too.
Saved my shoulders years ago.
Instead of being like, hey man, you're doing this wrong, like, hey, try it this way. Like, there's a way to go about it, you know?
Yeah, it was, you know, it's, and the cool thing is learning new stuff in the gym too. I learn like new workouts all the time, you know, but plugging you, I watch all the stuff you do, and I'm like, I'm going to try that today.
Dude, okay. If you want to 10 years from now, look back on where you are now, in 10 years, if you want to go across that span and not having gotten better, like, does anybody want to do that? No. Like, if I could look back 10 years ago and not have learned anything, like, I don't want to go 10 years and not become better. Like, I just feel like everybody goes through this like quarter life crisis, right? Where like 27, 28, when the fucking world hits you in the face and you fail and you realize you were wrong about shit. Like, if we're smart, And you have to like come to terms with the fact that you don't fucking know everything.
Yeah.
And you got a lot left to learn. And it's going to take you your whole life, you know? And I see these dudes in their 25s, and I'm like, you haven't hit that crisis yet. And I see dudes in like their 30s are more humble and more open-minded. I'm like, you must have gone through something because I went through it.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm always like looking for opportunity and in not just opportunities to like grow the business or move up, level up in my own personal goals, but just to learn new stuff. I never understood why someone would ever want to restrict themselves from the ability just to learn something new, you know, or be in a position where I meet these like guys that will actively avoid situations out of fear of being seen as someone not knowledgeable. And I'm like, I'm not worried at all about
I mean, one of the most courageous acts that people can do is putting themselves into places consistently where they're the novice.
Yeah.
But that is like the only place you grow. How are you going to grow if you're the fucking expert in the room all the time? Like you have to put yourself in uncomfortable positions
all the time. Yeah. I love doing that. I love going into a position where I'm like, oh, I don't know anything. Like, I don't know what's going on here.
And every once in a while, you're like, oh, man, I might have been wrong about this.
Yeah.
Or I wasn't completely right. I have to look at this in a new light. And people view that as a negative. It's just like, well, you just became better. You just learned something. Yeah. Like, you were more wrong than you are now. Like,
yeah, dropping the ego is really helped me out big picture. Yeah. Because for a while, like you said, mid-20s, I was very much like that. You know, and I had like a streak of wins, so I thought I did know. Yeah, and then now I'm just like, I like whatever I can learn. You know, I'm not afraid to fail in a sense, you know, and I'm not afraid to look stupid.
That's like the biggest thing with hiring young people is because they haven't practiced failing enough.
Oh, dude, and today's too.
Yeah, dude. I'm just like,
today's society, everyone is so entitled. Yeah. It's so crazy. I mean, it's one of the most frustrating things in the world. And we were talking about it before we even started recording, where everyone now has reduced everyone and they just reduce them all to their Instagram following.
Oh my God.
And their credibility is limited to their Instagram following. And to me, it's just batshit crazy. It's some of the smartest people I know aren't even on social media or they're private, like they don't have a big following. And they get zero recognition. And you know, it's like, then I meet some people who are the biggest in the world and they're dumb as shit. And they're some of the rudest too.
Crazy.
And yeah.
Like, I think my shit took off in like October. So it's been less than a year. Man.
Yeah.
Like in October, I had like 3,000 people that followed me.
Yeah.
Like I didn't post on it regularly. I had one viral reel and a guy grew from there. Like, do you honestly think that I am, 70,000 times better now than I was in October? So, there's all those people out there that are little known, but are fucking dedicated to their craft. No. Yeah, there's a lady where I work and she's older. She doesn't look like a fitness model, but the way she trains her kids, she's one of the best trainers I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Nobody knows her name, but she's one of the absolute best trainers I've ever seen. And it's just, dude, the Instagram thing drives me nuts.
Yeah, it's definitely made people blind to the fact that a lot of these guys are just dumb. And a lot of them are just really good at making themselves look credible.
Yeah.
And I try to tell people all the time, I'm like, dude, most of these people are miserable. I go and I get to mingle and meet a lot of them. They're not like rich like you think they are. Most of them are broke and they all live in a house with like 6 other people. They're also miserable humans. They're unhappy. Their entire world is subjected to the perception of strangers.
It's crazy, man.
It's like, do you not like care about having a happy life, like doing things that matter? No. And then I meet, then a lot of them become very narcissistic and then they get really, like, it's the best way to phrase it. Like, they think that just ignoring reality somehow makes their reality fact when it's like, do you really think that this is how the world operates?
Dude, since the Instagram stuff, man, like, I will know about world events. I'm like, wait, what happened? How did I miss that?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God. Like, like, it is really discouraging sometimes, but it's like a double-edged sword like anything else. Like, I have the chance to help a lot of people I want to help. Like, I was in the Rangers with this guy. He was attached to us as our sniper, and 2 days after I left, he got killed. And he had sat me down. Like, I was the platoon leader, but he was a senior NCO, so and he was older than me. He sat me down and mentored me. It was one of the most profound talks of my life. 2 days before I left, and 2 days later he died. And his son reached out to me, didn't even know that I knew the dude, didn't even know, and just like, hey, my dad was this ranger. I just want to know if you knew him. And I got the chance to be like, yes, I knew your dad. Yeah. He was one of the best dudes I ever knew. He did this, this, and this. Like, he gave me a speech that changed my life. And I got to tell his son how great his dad was, because I remember him talking about his kid. And his kid was like 4 years old at the time. So his kid never knew his dad. And like that alone has made it all worth it. Yeah. So there are times when it's like really rewarding. But then, you know, I listen to people say these horrible things about me or assume them this way or that way. And it's hard to ignore sometimes, you know. But you're all right, man. It's like not super easy to make money on social media all the time. Like,
no, it's a very saturated market. And, you know, it hurts sometimes with everything I do. And then, you know, when you have really good and positive intentions and it's not getting recognition.
Exactly. And they think you're just doing it to make money.
Well, it's so frustrating when it's like, you know, me and Johnny here, like this guy helps me out immensely. I would have given this up a long time ago if he hadn't joined the team. And, you know, we work really hard to like produce stuff for the city and be a resource, whether it's our website, the media development, when we go highlight facilities or people and things like that. And then with like, call it algorithm, call it censorship, this or that, when it gets zero recognition, or it's like we spent years building up a legitimate following and 0.02% of your following gets to see it. That's discouraging.
Something's being suppressed.
And when it's like, so.
And what's sad for me too is I'll put out some things that I'm proud of, like information wise. I think this is a good clip or reel information wise, and it does okay. Yeah. And then I'll put out something like controversial. I'm in a bad mood one day, and I'll say some shit, and I'll kind of be a dick or a jerk, and then it'll like go through the roof. Because people love it when people are dicks, man.
People are drawn to confrontation or negativity, which crazy. I just can't fathom. I'm like, I like watching like feel good videos a lot.
It's crazy.
Like just random
things. What makes people want to fucking root against people? Yeah. It's like the craziest thing to me.
You know, and it's some people just they've done a good job at growing a platform off that, and then they monetize that, you know. And to me, I used to really get mad at the creator, but then I started looking at it, you know, and this was big picture. I used to get irritated with how successful a lot of these OnlyFans girls would get. And then I would get really irritated with a lot of these like annoying social media people, or now there's like the streamers that go around and fuck with people, and they have like the big security guards.
It's not a condemnation of them, it's a condemnation of society.
And that's where things shifted, where I'm like, how can I be mad? Like they're being rewarded. And it's hard for me. I don't know how to succeed in a world that rewards degenerate behavior. Like, and no value, and no nothing. And so
it's hard for me to be around people and I'll see them like actively rooting for people to fail. I'm like, dude, how like fucked up does your mind have to be to have these dark thoughts where you're sitting like wanting somebody to mess up or do bad, or like, do you take pleasure from, like, I always cringe when I see somebody like, even like when Liver King got busted, I was like, man, I feel bad for that dude. Like, he's got to be having a hard day right now, you know? And people are like, we brought it on himself. Like, I got it. But how many things in your life have you brought on yourself? And like, you want no one to feel bad for you or understand you. Like, I got it, man. But are you fucking perfect? Like, it's hard when
Didn't even come out and say like, I fucked up.
Like, I don't even know, man.
I think he did a video where he said that.
But it's not about Liver King. It's just like, people like take joy in seeing people fail. Like, it's like, dude, that's messed up, man. Like,
it's a tough balance for me, because like there are some people where I'm like, good, I'm glad. You know, I'm not going to sit and act like I'm.
We're just like a little bit of hubris. It's like, well, you got that one.
That guy was an asshole, so that's karma for you. But then
like the OnlyFans shit, it's like I used to do that too. It's like, how's this girl making $20 million a year? And then I watched.
I thought you used to do OnlyFans. I was like,
how'd you get out of it? Like,
but
I have the second most famous butthole online. That's all right. But so you know, really, like, you know, I'll go downtown or something, I'll listen to this person that just rocks it on the violin, you know, and they're like struggling to get by. This OnlyFans chick making $19 million a month. That used to bother me. But I'm like, no, it's not a condemnation of her. That's just what our society values. Like, that's society. You know?
I mean, we did that boat party, and we had I think she's the #1 female streamer in the world, Amaranth. And she was really nice, really cool. I was happy she came. I was like kind of blown away that she was like coming to ours. And I mean, she's making millions.
Yeah, it's great.
And I was like, you know, I'm sure she gets a lot of people that are like, she's this and that and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, good for her. Like, if I was in that position, you or anyone, you're telling me you wouldn't monetize in that, in that.
That's the personal
You would not
decision.
take advantage
and
that
no
opportunity.
hate, personal decision. You know, maybe a little bit of judgment on the dude that's paying $20 a month and like hiding in the closet while his like wife and kids are eating dinner to like have some girl show him her feet or something. Like a little bit of judgment on the dude.
Never understood the feet thing.
Yeah, but it's like, all right, if like if dudes are gonna pay to see your feet and you want to show them your feet, show them your feet. I also saw this cool thing one time and like it put things in a different context about how OnlyFans has created the safe environment for women. Whereas they used to have to like go meet dudes in person because if there's a market for something, somebody's going to fill that market, right? And people are going to use the tools at their disposal. So when a woman doesn't have skill and her choice is to either work, and a lot of men don't have skill either, right?
Yeah.
But we don't have, like women ain't going to pay to, you know.
No one wants to see my
exactly, you know, like women are going to pay me to do
my
that.
feet.
So like, it's either you want to work 50 hours a week at a fucking restaurant or you can work 4 hours a week and make 10 times as much. And fuck you can't judge that woman because you're not in that position, right? So as long as men are going to be perverts, there's going to be women there that will fill that need, just like drugs and anything else. Yep. So like for the first time ever, these women are able to make money off perverts and they don't have to like meet them in person and put themselves at risk and deal with stalkers. Yeah. So it's not always a bad thing. They want to shut OnlyFans down, just like if they want to keep drugs from coming across the border or whatever, but that need is still going to be there. Yeah. And like, just how's it going to get filled? Probably in a more dangerous way. You know, like, so I don't necessarily hate on OnlyFans. It's just the society that creates perverts that fit. And like, I can't do anything about that. Like,
no, yeah, it's out of our control.
The world, like, sex has been a thing. Like when they like unearthed Pompeii, they found like, they didn't find like profound writings on the wall. They found like graffiti of like dicks and shit. It's like dudes have been fucking just like basic since the dawn of time. Like, there's probably some dude in a cave like making dick jokes 30,000 years ago. Like shit doesn't change, bro.
No,
like,
no. We're all animals by nature.
Yeah, man. It's just like, I don't hate on people. Like you do make money how you make money. You know? As long as you're not hurting somebody directly. You know?
Yeah, as long as you're not like doing something like,
and that's
really
like a slippery slope too. Because like, well, you know, this person is like, you know, they run a liquor store and then people go to that liquor store and they get drunk. And then, so that person running liquor, it's like, nah, man, it's personal responsibility. Yeah. The girl doing the OnlyFans isn't hurting this guy's family. That guy is hurting his family.
Yeah. You nailed it. Personal responsibility. I hate when people try to put it on there. I'm like, you know, if it's like Kratom, for example, still, there's like a legal battle if it should be illegal or legal. And I like Kratom. I'll take it. But I don't think that they should outlaw it. Same with like marijuana, you know, things like that.
We've had case studies like alcohol was made illegal. Yeah. Look what happened from that.
Yeah.
Like, I think almost all drugs should be legal, not because I approve of drugs, but because then we can tax it, we can regulate it, we can standardize it, we can track it. You know what I mean? Like now people are still going to want to do cocaine, but you don't know what it's cut with. You don't know what's put in it. You know, like alcohol was extremely dangerous during Prohibition. Yeah. You know, because it was fucking illegal.
Yeah. And they're making it in the woods. They, you know, I think it always comes down to how people need to be educated. Yeah. You know, I think that if more people learned, and then it's also lifestyle too, you know, I don't have any desire to do drugs, like any of those heavy drugs, the things that are popular on the street, things like that. I don't have that desire. Yeah. And it's because I've seen what it does to people and I just don't need it, you know? And I feel like, when it's, you know, people are going to get it no matter how they want. So
if there's a market for it, that'll be filled. It's like people like they just think that if something's legal, that means that we approve of it. You know, like, no, it just means that like, hey, it's legal. We're not going to put you in prison for doing it. And now we can tax it and we can regulate it. Like prostitution, I think it's wrong. But if prostitution was legal, you'd have to get registered. You'd have to pay taxes. You'd have to get tested. You know, like it would make it safer. It doesn't mean I approve of this.
Yeah, it's if there's you know, little regulation. I think you'll notice that there's my opinion, there'd be a massive drop. I think when it's no longer readily available, or when it is readily available, and then there's, you know, you don't have to worry about people getting them from some sketchy
and like
dude.
Fentanyl and all that shit.
God, like, that's so scary. Yeah, you know, what they just had like 3 deaths over.
I mean, the problem, and like cocaine isn't a good thing. Don't get me wrong, but like the problem isn't the cocaine, it's fentanyl because it's illegal and people can lace it. Yeah. You know, it's not coming out of a factory. Like if I was going to do cocaine, would I rather pay a little bit more and get something from like a factory that was like sealed and I knew there wasn't fentanyl in it, or something that like, or maybe something I knew that wasn't cut with these harsh crap, and I knew it was standardized. So if I did like one line or whatever they do, like I wouldn't have a fucking heart attack. But now that's like most people die because they don't know what they're getting.
Well, and I meet these people and I agree. And it's such a touchy subject because you don't want to sound like you're like promoting.
It was like, oh, drugs. You like prostitutes? I'm like,
no, in no way are we promoting it. I'm just saying like, I think it's safe to say that it's more so there's safer alternatives. And when you let, drug dealers don't care about your safety, things like that. And so, man, we got down a dark rabbit hole.
It's like we lost the war on drugs. Man, we lost the war on drugs as soon as like we stopped fighting people's need to do drugs all the time. The minute we focus on like the people making the drugs and not the people wanting to do the drugs, we instantly lost that war on drugs.
Yeah, it's I think it's always going to come down to discipline. How you're raised, education, parenting. Being raised like don't do this stuff. I didn't even really start drinking till I went to Chico. I was 21. I just didn't, I had drank before, no lie, but like it's regular. I was just I just didn't have a need for it.
Well, it just goes down to like helping people find their self-worth and their value, and understanding there has to be a little bit of struggle to find pure joy instead of just an outlet at the time. And then focusing on the things that cause people to go to prostitutes or cause people to do drugs. It's like you're lonely, you feel isolated, you're depressed. It's like we always try to fight the symptom instead of the cause.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think that's where I was trying to go with it is like, it comes back to what we've talked about with steroids, Ozempic, things like that. It's always directed towards a quick fix. Even people that struggle with porn addiction.
Dude,
look how they freaked out when Texas got rid of Pornhub.
I know.
I mean, it's just lifestyle choices. You can still fulfill and get those dopamine rushes, those needs, things like that with just simple lifestyle change.
Yeah,
those quick fixes are only going to do damage over time.
And that stuff you need more and more of to get the same joy out of. That's why porn is so dangerous. You need more and more to get the same endorphin or dopamine.
Yeah, well, and it's like porn. Like, you might satisfy a very a quick need, but it's damaging you long term. Whether you want to admit it or not, it's going to ruin your sex life. It's going to ruin.
I'm all for freedom, man, and I'm never going to say porn or anything should be illegal. But first of all, something that's kind of funny. It's like prostitution is legal because a girl or guy or whatever has sex with a girl. Or a girl has sex with a guy.
Technically, they're doing it together.
But porn is legal because you do it and then you film it. It's like you're literally doing the same thing, but you're putting one on film and you're not filming the other one.
I don't know. It's crazy. Yeah, it's a weird time.
Yeah,
it's a weird. Everyone seems to be just so like the world's moving so fast and people are having a tough time keeping up with it. So
it's just these kids, man. Like they don't like have a connection with women anymore. Like you talk to these young kids, they don't know how to talk to girls. It's
the phones.
Yeah,
it's the lack. It's everything has been reduced to the Amazonification of interaction. Everyone's a swipe away. Everything's DMs and
attention
text.
spans are getting very short. You have to be like in your face. Yeah. Nobody will read anything and think about anything. Information needs to be simple and digestible.
Yeah.
There's no and then that's when you know just enough to be dangerous. Yeah. When somebody wants a simple, easy this, and not like do this and here's the context behind it and here's the deeper meaning because people don't got time for it. They don't have the attention span.
Yeah, I meet people all the time and I try to have an interaction or conversation with them and it's like I'm like, dude, are you here?
It's crazy. You got 3 seconds and somebody's moving the phone.
Oh God, yeah,
it's insane.
And then watching people panic in conversation, they pull their phone out. Yeah. And I'm like, I've been on dates where I'm like, you want to put that away? Like
it's addicting, man.
So yeah. Well, wrapping it up, I know you got an app out now. And it's the Mass Method app, right? And so where can they download
it's in my bio, like a link in my bio. It just says my app. You click on it, and then it'll take you either directly there. You can get it through my website now too. But it's basically the Mass Method is divided into blocks, and each one focuses on a different thing. So you have strength and you have performance, and we have a summer challenge out now. So it's normally in 4 to 5 week blocks. The summer challenge is like 8 weeks. Mm-hmm. So if you go in there, you can either start from Mass Method 1 and work your way through, or you can pick whichever one. And then you can go in there and kind of look and see what the workouts are like so you get an idea.
Yeah.
And they all incorporate all aspects of fitness. So there's a little bit of agility and plyometrics, and they do work up to sprinting. Like Mass Method 1 does not start you with sprinting, obviously. But they will just focus on different areas of fitness. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And would you say it's applicable for everyone? Like
almost everyone. It's really not for beginners.
Okay.
But for beginners, they need to stick with just basic 7 movement patterns, something that's safe. Oh. You know what I mean? but for intermediates and people without severe injuries.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's all scalable.
That's good. Yeah, I definitely will check it out. We'll put the links and stuff. I know if people are watching, you're also the spotlight feature on the website.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, we got you on there. So all that information is directed there.
At the top, talking about like drugs and prostitutes. What else? I don't even know.
Dude,
steroids, drugs, and prostitutes. I was like,
it's a normal day here. Gosh. But last thing, where can social media plugs, where can people find you?
At JuddLienhard.com. So last name is like Lien. So Judd Lienhard. And then it says Just on there. It's my real name, but I never go by that. So please don't call me Justin.
Oh,
the cops call me Justin.
Yeah. I remember you talking Judd. Judd's much.
It's not even like I prefer Judd. I've just gone by that my whole life.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's my name now, I guess.
Yeah, they stick. Well, I appreciate you coming on. I was super excited. I remember when we were shooting the shit at the gym, and I was like, dude, we gotta do a show. And then
yeah, man, it's been fun.
And then we'll catch up here soon. We'll run it back in the future. We're gonna start podding a lot more now, and so
Very cool.
I'm pumped to get them out. And on that note, Johnny, take us out.